Alrighty then, I think that is enough time. We did 5 minutes after the hour, so why don't we get started? Let me get into my little screen here. Perfect. Oh my goodness, I forgot to update my scene collections. I forgot to update that with the text. Okay, I'll do that after stream because I keep two different like scene things, if that makes sense. So because I run through Streamlabs and I keep two different scene collections, one for the VOD and the other for when I just do gaming. Also, it looks like my model may or may not be a little laggy today. They've been doing internet stuff with my complex recently, so this is kind of where we're at. So yeah. Now, geez, it already episode 7? Yes, it is, Rinthio! It is episode 7. Also, I'm in the process of making your guest advertisement. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about that. I'm still doing it. Been very busy lately with work. But guess what? You guys are extremely important to me, and I'll make sure that you're adequately represented, more than adequate. I want to make sure you're taken care of. But yeah, we're episode 7 already. So, yeah, I've been checking on, because, you know, I've been good at following you on Twitter and, you know, your socials and all that, so, you know, you talk openly about how busy you are at work, and especially, you know, with your health, so, like, it seems a lot of people are getting sick recently. So, you know, it is okay. You know, people are trying to fight the seasonal illness. So, yeah. Now, Rinthio episode. I won't forget that, Rinthio. You took over my show where I became the guest. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy having people on the show, is because it fosters such a good community of people who, you know, really support each other. Oh, what can I say? But you're welcome. Yup. Hitting me with that. I understand that reference. So yeah, let's talk about our last stream that was on Thursday, where we played House Flipper. Because we ended up playing Phasmophobia on Tuesday, which was Halloween, and on Thursday we played House Flipper, and House Flipper has been super fun, super good. You know, having so much to do with that is just, I really enjoy House Flipper. It's a really good game. If you don't have it, check it out. You know, play it. If you already have it, well, House Flipper 2 is coming out soon, so take a look at that. But we did we did so much in that, and it wasn't until the second half of that stream, when we started doing that big old luxury house, that I started to get called out for my crappy interior design skills. But that's not my fault. The client is the one who wanted it. Val, the professional real estate agent. Yeah. Look, if you want your house to have the ugliest tiles, the worst color palette possible, and you also want to have a giant rug, like a rug underneath a table with your chairs, that's on you. That's not on me. You afforded it. You said here's the reference cards. You know, that's on you. So I was just following directions. So that's, you know, it is what it is. So once again, I was bullied by chat by my interior design skills, and for being a bottom. So whether or not that persists, that's completely up to you guys. But honestly, it's really funny. So that was Thursday. Tomorrow we have our next wonderful guest, and her name is Sevilla, and she will be on the show, and we'll talk with her. But as for today, we have a wonderful guest. I had a long conversation with her about us setting everything up. Now, when it comes to this show, I'm very transparent about the technical problems and a lot of the behind-the-scenes things. Because what I tend to do is I like to do a phone call with the guests beforehand to set everything up. And let me tell you something. My tech stuff just didn't want to work. So we ended up having such a really good conversation, which was almost an entire length of a show in and of itself. So I had so much fun with that, and I'm super excited what today's show will hold, because our guest today really offers a lot of wonderful insight, but also just knows how to really hold a good conversation. Like, it's honestly something that's always super fun to encounter. You know, whether you're talking on Twitch, you're talking inside of a, you know, in a school or at work, you know, being able to communicate well is a skill that anybody should respect. So yeah, where is that? Ah, there it is. Because I always love to have have introductions, because introductions are important. For instance, last week, when we had Double D, they wanted it read as they thought it'd be funny if it was read as a WWE entrance. Now, I'm not gonna do it this time, but like, I just find entrances to be the most fun form of introducing someone. So yeah, today we get to welcome Breezy, aka Breezy Ray. Now, she's a writer, an actor, and a fledgling, you know, a fledgling singer-songwriter. Now, music is hard. So, I know it from my personal experience, but in the conversations I've had, and then hearing Breezy recently, you know, it's working, and it sounds like the hard work is paying off. Hopefully we'll hear something soon on that, and we'll talk about that a little bit on the show. Breezy has released over 450 short-form videos, from character skits to original songs, all in under a year on TikTok, where she is known as the degenerative AI. So why don't I transition over to the show? I think that is my control. Wrong one! Where is it? Oh my gosh, this is it! Where is it? Where's my show? It's 8. It's control 8. Oh my gosh. Hey Breezy, how are you doing? Are you here with me right now? Did you see all that? Oh, hold on. I'm not hearing anything. Let's see. So I've talked about persistent audio problems sometimes, and this is just one of those cases. Hold on 1 second. Say something? Oh no, I can't hear you again. So this is one of the technical problems that I ran into before, like when we were trying to set everything up. So hold on, Breezy, I cannot hear you. And I swear, totally professional show, no scuff. We don't have scuff, period. All right, hold on, let me see. There's that. Let me rejoin that. You also get to see the wonderful behind the scenes of how this works. There we go. All right, so try that now. My goodness, it's always during the show, because like we were talking beforehand and the audio worked just fine. Let's see, let me move that. Let's move that. So we're gonna do this real quick, so bear with us. So let's see, we're going to hide that for a moment, and guess what, I can actually oh, I don't have my technical difficulties thing. So yeah, let me try this actually. Let me try this. So we'll go back here. We'll go back here for that. I think I would place that. So let's see. I like that. So So give us just one moment. Again, so this worked beforehand. Like we were talking and we were having a good time. And so this all worked beforehand. Oh, hold on. I might as well that is 08.
Check 1 2. Check 1
Whoa,
2.
I hear you now.
Oh, awesome.
I hear you now. All right, we're still good on that. Tell me when you're good, and I will put you back on the show.
Great. Let's go.
All right, hold on. Let me get back going. All right. Okay. Are we good now?
Feeling good.
All right. I wonder what happened there.
Not sure. Not sure.
Well, from as our audience in chat who's been here before can attest to, these streams are rarely perfect. So, you know, scuff is bound to happen. But
Smooth sailing as far as I'm concerned.
Breezy, how are you doing today?
I am pretty good. I'm pretty good. I spent the day playing Lords of the Fallen, a Dark Souls-like game.
Really?
And going for a walk with my daughter. We were out and there was a groundhog. So exciting. You gotta hear all about my exciting life.
You can find groundhogs out in the wild?
Yeah. Actually, I thought it might be a capybara.
Huh. I don't think I've ever seen a groundhog in real life. You know?
Really? They're all over this place. We're filthy with them.
Oh my goodness. Like, is that just one of those things where you just walk out of your house and like, oh, yep, nope, there's a groundhog right there?
Pretty much. I wouldn't say when I walk out of my house, that would be a little weird. Like, I would think that maybe the groundhog was stalking me at that point, but no.
Some animals just tend to be like that, where, like, where I grew up, which was more on the West Coast, sometimes there were just interesting, like, wildlife that would all of a sudden just show up there, stare at you, and then sprint away. Like, whether that was a coyote or maybe a, like, because I didn't see a squirrel, like, for the first time in my life until I was probably, like, 12 or 13. And that was because I went to the mountains for a camping trip. Squirrels aren't just a thing where I grew up.
How did you report this fact to your family? Where you're like, oh my god, I saw this thing, it was crazy.
I knew it was a squirrel.
Oh, okay.
Like, it wasn't
well, wait, if you had never seen one before, maybe you would have been like, what is this strange dog? That's small.
No, I didn't see like a small rodent with a giant tail climbing up a tree. It's like, yep, that's a dog. I'm sure of that. It was one of those things where I know what squirrels are. I saw pictures of squirrels. I just never seen one in person. Cause like if I said, oh yeah, I've seen a shark. I see pictures of sharks, but I saw a shark for the first time in person. You know, it's one of those instances because people don't typically see sharks. So
I'm convinced that this is a side story, but when I open my door, I'm convinced that there is a Japanese kamaitachi living in the bush near my apartments. So I went out one day and I started driving the car and the wheel was completely slashed. And I don't have a lot of enemies around here that I know of anyway. But I did see when I first moved in, there was this tree that used to be there. And then one day there were these slash marks on it. And I'm convinced that it's the sickle weasel. It's a Japanese monster that hides in the grass and cuts people's ankles.
I think we just have those in America, and they're just called delinquents.
I don't know. Do delinquents just randomly go around slashing tires? Maybe they do.
Well, like, because there's the urban legend of if you're in your car or something and you'll just hear something from the outside, and as soon as you step out, like they slash your heels or something. Like, I don't know if they rob you or they kill you or they just do that for fun and then just run off.
Stop scaring me, jeez.
Well, let's see. The urban legend heel slasher. I'll just search that up.
No thanks.
Slasher under the car. That's what it is. So
Oh my god.
it claims that thieves lie in wait under victims' cars and render their victims helpless by slashing their ankles. This is proven false.
I've been rendered hapless.
Must refrain from saying the phrase I always say. Yeah, so it's
Okay, that's terrifying. First of all, your audience should know this. I am a trans woman. Okay, so I was born and raised male, but you know, inside I've always been a woman.
Of course.
And so when I started transitioning, I went from being like a guy at night, going to my car, like, hello, shadows. What's going on, fellow shadow people and dangerous individuals?
It's the shadow government.
I'm just going to my car, to being like, oh my god, there are things in my peripheral vision I can't quite see, and everyone is around me, and everything is trying to kill me. And it's like, it's nature. Like when I went on hormones, like my hormones like made me more aware of my surroundings, and it sucked for a little while. So like you telling me that there are like ne'er-do-wells hiding underneath vehicles is terrifying.
Well, I'm a male, and like that's terrifying. Like I'm walking around a parking structure that's almost like there's just cars, but it's dimly lit. You kidding me? I'm freaking out about that. I'm sitting there clutching my backpack or my bag, and I'm just like, please, nothing, please pop out because I will scream.
You're right, Val. I should have allowed for cowardly people as well.
That's why you carry a sledgehammer. It's both impractical but also threatening for anyone.
Ooh, I like that. A sledgehammer.
Well, the thing is, if you say like, I got a knife for self-defense, I got a taser, I got a gun, it's just like, okay, let's see. It's okay, Rinthio, the robo mode always happens. I need to get that made, that sign. So occasionally, sometimes...
I don't know what words you guys are talking about.
So occasionally, sometimes guests on the show, because the internet can be a little janky between Discord and Twitch, sometimes the guest will suddenly turn robotic in sound, and then it'll shortly return. So it happens.
I don't sound like a robot. I am a human girl. Beep boop bop beep. Bop a skibidi bop bop boop bop.
I see the Scatman reference.
I am terribly sorry. That was also a Hanson reference, though.
Oh.
I said it wrong.
I thought that was the beginning of Scat World.
I started doing skibbity, which is like a thing they do now. Never mind.
Oh, but back to that self-defense thing. Just think about it, though. If somebody comes at you, if you're defending yourself with a knife, they're like, it's a knife, I can take care of it. But if you see somebody pulling a sledgehammer, regardless of size, race, gender, or any other factor, a sledgehammer's a pretty threatening thing to pull out.
This is true. You were talking about a WWE style entrance before, and you just saying sledgehammer makes me think of Triple H.
Triple H.
How you don't actually have to swing the sledgehammer with like actual sledgehammer motion. You can just hold the head and then smack somebody with it if you can't like get enough, if you're afraid that you're gonna miss.
That is true.
Just like using the sledgehammer like a kind of battering ram.
That's true.
To the ribs or something.
Oh, we'll mess up someone. Trust will mess up some. It will mess up someone. Broken engine apart with a 16. Oh my gosh! Just with a 16-pound sledgehammer? My goodness.
Ooh. I know what that would do to the human body. Although I kind of want to know what that would do to the human body.
Well, sort of scare me a little bit. But no, like, I mean, the body is squishy. And not only that, I mean, because something I I've learned throughout my college experience, it was taking a bunch of biology and anatomy classes, especially just that when it comes to that and future Breezy stream break body with hammer. Raytheon, don't give her ideas.
But whose body? Not mine.
I see. But as for that, like so surprisingly, the human body is very resilient. The reason why I bring that up is because I was watching something recently where apparently, like, if you loosen your body enough, like become in such a relaxed state, and you loosen your body enough that you could theoretically survive high falls or, you know, like hard impacts, because since the body becomes so rigid when it comes to an impact, it will tense up and absorb the shock of whatever hits it. But if you're really loose and you're very just not like tensing anything, it's essentially like punching a piece of Play-Doh where it jiggles and moves, but ultimately it's not firm. And so, as terrible as it is to talk about, a child falling from a building has better survival odds, if historically speaking, than a normal adult does. And I guess and they only have that data because I guess people back then were just horrible parents, and these were the kind of people that had like those cages in their windows. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
cages in the windows for children?
So like back in,
where are we? What is this?
So like back in the 20s. Let me back up a little bit. So back in the, I think it was the 20s or something, or the Industrial Revolution, these parents would like buy these iron cages that they could put on the outside of their windows on like a skyscraper.
Oh, sweet, that's metal.
You're not wrong. And what they would do is these cages would allow them to let their child roam around and still get outside air and all of that. But it was, let me see if I could find it. Let's see, skyscraper.
I'm imagining Disenchantment with Elfo sticking his legs out of the cage and kind of waddling around.
No, Google, you will not know my location.
I'm Elfo.
Baby cage, 1930s baby cage hangs from apartment window.
Oh boy.
Yep, yeah. So this is what they did. This is what they did in the 30s. Is they put
yeah, that tracks.
They put these cages outside of the window so the child could like get some air or something.
Yeah, kids need air, but not freedom.
They need air on the 32nd story of a building.
Was that in Dr. Spock's guide?
Oh. So, look, when it comes to the history of mankind or humankind, it is such a scuffed one, to say the least, because it took.
That's the second time you've used the word scuffed today. You only have one more. Choose wisely.
Scuffed.
Oh man. Did I throw you off your game? Go ahead. It's your show.
It's our show. So, but yeah, so talking about sledgehammers and all that and future stream ideas, my goodness, what a fantastic way to start this show. So, moving a little bit back on track, because I get off track very easily.
Yes, segue us.
There is one question that I always ask to every guest I have, and that's how I started. It's, who are you and what is your story?
I've never heard this question before. How could you surprise me with that? That is totally unprofessional.
Ah, I see. So now that you've heard it, let me ask it again. Who are you and what's your story?
I am Breezy, the degenerative AI. And my story is that I wanted to do this for a long time, but, VTubing. But unfortunately, there was a problem. Like, I didn't have the right phone. I didn't have the setup to be able to do it, but I've always been interested in it. But I also don't watch a lot of VTubers, so and I don't stream a lot. Like I've had very limited time streaming, but I did take acting over the pandemic. I guess this is a pandemic story. I don't want it to be a pandemic story, but I guess it kind of is. But I started taking acting, and I was doing a performance of a short play about an ingenue who comes early and is trying to get the skinny on her competition for an audition.
Mhm.
And another ingenue comes in the door and catches her. And so my character pretends to be the casting director. She like throws on like a little scarf and like starts pretending to have the woman audition for her, and then she slowly tears her apart. But there's a scene where I get up on top of the table, and I had done this many times during practice, but when I actually got up on the table, the legs came out from under it and I went crashing to the floor.
Ooh.
And I injured myself. And I had big plans to like really audition a lot and get into stuff. And that can be hard as a trans woman, just because I'm 6'1". I don't fit a lot of the traditional roles for women, but also, Gwendolyn Christie doesn't really fit those roles either. So, Brianna of Tarth from Game of Thrones, Captain Phasma from Star Wars, The Force Awakens, etc. So, like, just as a large woman, just as an older, larger woman, like, I knew that it would be hard to get those roles, but I was willing to put in the time. But then I injured myself on this stage. But, and you would love this, Val, I never broke character.
Oh.
Not once. I said, ugh, your flop sweat is everywhere. It's caused even my table to collapse.
Oh my goodness. See, that's one of the... I was actually talking with somebody yesterday, because I was doing a film shoot for a corporate promotional video, or corporate training video, and one of the things about it was I was talking with a talent, and she had seen me, remember me from when I went to a haunted house a couple weeks ago, and at the very end of it, at the very end of the haunted house is where she was. Her character was like, yeah, I created this living doll thing, but I decided to remove the top of her skull and take the brains out, because why not? Because it's supposed to be crazy and all that. Don't worry about it. That's not the point. The point is, since I have improv background, and I know some of the haunted house actors, they like people who play along, because it just makes it easier, it's more fun, and so that's what I was doing. And so I said to her, I'm like, because she was talking like a British accent, or rather a transatlantic accent, so like the Jimmy Stewart kind of voice.
Yeah.
That's like no British person talks like, so it's or a standard American pronunciation. So, they sound very prim and proper, like this. And so I asked her, I said, well, tell me, was it an artistic decision? And she said, yes, it was a very She stopped herself and said, an enunciation in her American voice, saying,
I get it.
Artistic decision. And then went back into character. And so the reason why I bring that up is because she confronted me about it when she's like, oh, were you at the haunted house? I'm like, yes. She's like, you were the one who asked me about the artistic decision thing that I had to break character for. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I thought, no, it's fine. It happens all the time. And it reminded me of when I was doing theater, and I was in a production of Mamma Mia. And there was something that happened that was so, I'm going to say it again, so scuffed but funny, that midway through the show, midway through the scene, I stopped and I couldn't stop laughing, where I had to be like, hold on guys, I need a second. Because it was just so funny. And it was one of those things where I just kind of turned away, put my hand in my face, giggled, and I'm like, Okay, where were we? So I'm well aware of just breaking on stage, but kudos for you for not breaking, especially
Exactly.
falling off a table. I can only imagine.
Who did you play in Mamma Mia? Because I played Donna.
I always forget his name. I know it's my boy Pierce Brosnan.
Oh no, what is his name? I'm forgetting it now too.
I
would have known it if you said it, but now I can't think of what it is.
Sam.
Sam.
My man,
Sam.
my boy Pierce Brosnan. Oh, I love that man.
He has like the worst song in the movie though.
I mean, if you could see my, if you can see my hands, I'm like, just, yeah.
I love how deranged Meryl Streep is in that film. It's the most unhinged performance. It's like when she sees her girls on the dock, she sounds like a sailor. She's like, oh!
Oh my gosh. Well, that's the thing about Meryl Streep, because she's one of those actresses where she's at the point where she can't do wrong in a movie.
And yet sometimes she doesn't reach me, because sometimes she does go silly with it all, or I don't know. I didn't like her in Into the Woods either. I mean, I like her in Mamma Mia, but she, I wouldn't say that she's like on the level of Amanda Seyfried, who's like killing the songs.
Holy cow! I have not thought about Into the Woods in forever.
She's the witch. It's not a great. It doesn't reach me. I'll say that. I'm not going to talk shit about Meryl. I'm sorry. Pardon me.
No,
I'm not going to talk.
You could
bad.
swear.
I'm not going to talk bad about Meryl Streep. She's a national treasure.
I will talk about James Corden though. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you didn't like him as the fat cat in Cats? Bustopher Jones.
I saw that movie in theaters. I took a girl on a date and I saw that in theaters. And
I love that for you.
And we both sat there because the girl that I took on that date.
Mortification is such an aphrodisiac.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying. So she's big into the musical Cats. I could care less. I'm a Phantom of the Opera kind of guy. So I prefer that as the Andrew Lloyd Webber show. Now, when I took her, she was so excited. She's like, "This is gonna be great and a train wreck." I'm like, "Yeah?" She's like, "Yeah, I came prepared. I'm wearing cat ears." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we go in there and we're watching the movie, and we're just sitting there to ourselves, just like, "This is genuinely terrible." However, the one person who played, what was his name? What I think it was a guy.
Are you talking about Patrick Stewart as
Not Patrick Stewart. But
oh no, it wasn't Patrick Stewart. I'm sorry. It's the other guy, Ian McKellen, right?
Not Ian McKellen. Shoot, that one song.
I was like, is it Professor X or Magneto?
He had a solo near the end of, I think, Mr. Mistopheles.
Yes.
That's who it was. Laurie Davidson. That's who the...
Good singer.
And like, that was super cool. That was super great. However, just everything else was just...
I think the lowest point, other than perhaps, what was her name? The woman who played the
Old Deuteronomy?
The cat with the cockroaches.
Cat with the cockroaches.
Can't remember now.
Cat with the cockroaches.
There's like a cockroach. There's like a singing, dancing cockroach number.
Look,
you don't remember. You've blocked it out.
I
It was
have
so
blocked
traumatic
it out.
that you have blocked it out.
I have blocked it out. I don't like...
Idris Elba is downright embarrassing in that film.
Yeah, because that Jason Derulo's in it too.
Oh yeah, he and his milk. I'm surprised people just don't walk up to him in the street and just go, "Milk."
Yes. The one thing I wanted to see in that movie was Dame Judi Dench plopping her butt down on the ground and just licking herself. That's
honestly, That's the good stuff.
But to be fair, I feel like at that point in Judi Dench's career, she's like, I can do whatever I want. You know, there's nothing wrong with, like, because I'll always remember Judi Dench as M from James Bond. Like,
okay, yeah.
because
I mean, she was a hottie when she was young. she was like en fuego.
let's see, because I don't think I've ever seen Judi Dench young.
Let me back this up though. I just want to say before I move on from cats that I gathered a group of like 20 people.
Yeah.
And I bought tickets, and we all went with cat ears, glowing cat ears, light up cat ears.
Gosh.
And they were serving cats cocktails based on the movie.
I hate that sentence. I hate everything about that sentence.
The longer we watched it, the more I felt the eyes moving towards me. Like, what have you gotten us into, Sabrina? Sabrina is my civilian name.
Civilian.
Yeah, I'm registered in the the VTuber army as Breezy. But
thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But just
I guess I should get back to me.
I don't know. I
derailed it a bit there, but what I was trying to say was I injured myself, and I didn't immediately get it looked at, and so I was not able to perform or audition for a while. It turned out to be mostly like just bursitis, and like the injury had like congealed or whatever it does, had gotten harder instead of softer, which made it difficult to move around. But around that time, I was really eager. I used to be in a band called Yochien Ronin with my friend Ying, and we had made a song called In Search of the Search Party. And I wanted to be in the video, but I wasn't confident that I could be in the video, as you know, I'm a trans woman, and the vocals were from a long time ago, so they're more masculine coded. And so I decided that I was going to use I was going to use this new app called Hyper, and they had hand tracking and face tracking, and I thought it'd be fun to have like a virtual little like avatar do the singing for me. And it's a song about isolation and sort of the feeling that the sort of main character syndrome, how like it's a search party that's in search of the search party that never came out looking for you, basically. So like you sort of, as you get older, you start to isolate yourself from people, and it becomes harder to make friends, and you can burn bridges. And once you burn those bridges, like you could see that like maybe you've given your parents too much guff over the years, or you've let your relationships sort of die on the vine. And when it comes time that you're in trouble or you go missing, maybe nobody's looking for you. But maybe like, in this song, the person is sort of thinking about those relationships, and it's sort of like the reckoning in their sort of last moments or last days, where they're thinking about that idea that like maybe I should have been more honest with how I felt, that I needed that love, I needed to be wanted. And so I used my Breezy character, my first one with the purple hair and a white hoodie, to sort of portray those feelings. And I thought it was cool because it can be very isolating being online, right? And in the pandemic, everyone was feeling it. It can be very isolating, and to lock yourself away. In Japan, they have this thing called oh no, I forgot the name. Hikikomori, someone who's a shut-in, who locks themselves away and sometimes doesn't come out at all. And I was thinking about that as well. And I thought that this Breezy character would sort of be like wandering through the dark woods and like doing all sorts of stuff that I can do on my home computer. I'm an editor professionally, so I have the skill to tell that kind of story. I just didn't have actors, and it can be so hard to it can be so difficult to get people to show up when you want to create something, when you have an idea. and it's so easy when you're in high school or college when everybody has all this free time, but once people have families and once they have obligations, it can be real difficult to get anybody. And so this was something I could do on my own, and that's sort of where Breezy came from. It was like I have all these ideas I want to express, and now I have this like vessel that can do it for me, and I don't have to light myself, and I don't have to like light a green screen, and I don't have to do a lot of the things that normally come with a production. I can just tell my little stories, and I treat Breezy like a little playhouse. And thank you, Nina, for saying that I look mad cute. Very, very loving that. So I'm just gonna shout that out while I continue this story. But
Yeah, please continue.
A lot of VTubers, they choose one model or two models, and then that's them, and they promote themselves that way, and they go out and they commission artwork and stuff that shows off that. But with me, I keep the same face for most of the Breezy characters, and because I find this is like closest to me. But I change their hair, and I change their clothes, and I change their personalities, and I do different accents for them, and I create different characters. And it's almost like, I don't know if you had this, but there was an app where you could like basically tell your own little stories using like little like paper cutouts with Disney characters. And I had the Beauty and the Beast one, and I remember you could take like Belle and you could shrink her down and make her bigger, and there was like a bird, and you could record your voice doing all the characters, and I had so much fun with that stuff. And so when it came time to do Breezy's, I was like, yeah, this is fun, and sometimes I would tell multi-part stories. It started off though, interestingly. And I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
Oh, no, you're fine.
The first thing I did was I wanted people to get used to me. And I'm very good interacting with people. I used to be in the news, and I would go up to random people as part of the Man on the Street style stuff. Almost like Billy Eichner's show, Billy on the Street.
I love Billy on the Street.
Yeah, I was a little bit antagonistic, a little bit like coquettish, a little fun and flirty, right? And I used to go up to people and ask them like the question of the week. At first, I had to ask like political questions and stuff, and I didn't really enjoy that as much. But then I pitched them on this sort of more fun version of that, where I would go up to them and I'd say like, "Hey, what's the worst summer job you ever had?" And I remember I would do little skits at the beginning of each episode. By the way, my show was called Interviews: with People, which I kind of stole from that comedian of the time. I'm trying to think of his name, but
what year?
He does a lot of stuff with charts, and he's a Harvard educated man. Oh gosh, what else? I can't think of it.
A Harvard. Let's see.
Damien, something.
Huh.
I think his special was called Person. You know what? I'm gonna look it up.
Well, while you look that
comedy
up, it sort of feels
special.
like that your show is not like what you did is not far off of what I do here.
Yeah, I could see that. Dimitri Martin, that's it. I remembered it. I didn't even have to look it up. Dimitri Martin. And so I remember I did the question. I was like, "Hey, what's your worst summer job?" But while I was asking this, I had the person who does the cotton candy spin it around my head. So I had this giant puff hair of cotton candy, and I would ask people to eat it off of my head. And some people did, and some people were like, "No, thank you." But I regretted every moment of that because I was down shore at the time. That's what we say in Jersey. I was down shore. The Jersey Shore was a popular show at this moment. And I was down there a young kid going around with cotton candy hair, asking people to eat it, and it was like 90 degrees, and it melted, and the bees came after me, and I regretted my whole life in that moment. But it was funny.
So then would you say that, like, from your experience based on that type of, like, your theater experience and then your experience of, pardon me, I need to hydrate.
You just got hit with something.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Looked to me like a can of a can of Pepsi.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, chat can throw things at me. So,
bees are scary.
But would you, with those two things in mind as that you just discussed, would you say that you've taken all of those experiences and put them into what is now known as Breezy? Because, like, when you, like, for instance, when you said that cotton candy hair, as I'm looking at the model you're using now, kind of looks like cotton candy hair.
Are you thinking about eating my hair right now? Because that's just a little weird.
No, that is Nina. Nina likes to eat hair and nibble on people.
Oh my. Nina, let's talk later.
That's talk about that in the Discord. Just talk about that here. But I hope you see Nina eats hair. Hopefully you see what I'm talking about. Like, you know, were you able to take some of these things that you did previously and put them into what is now known as Breezy?
Hell yeah, sure. You know, I've had a lot of jobs. I was a modeling scout. I worked at a mall in Japan. It had a giant pink whale in the middle, and I would do the announcements for the kanlansha, the Ferris wheel on top of the mall. And I was allowed to do them I did them in Japanese very verbatim, you know, but then I was allowed to translate them into English, and nobody really spoke English very well there. So I was saying like all sorts of weird stuff, like I can't even imagine what it is now, but I know I was probably like, and don't miss the adventure available to you at the top of this building where we spin it round and round at rapid speed. And then I'd be like, it costs this much money, blah, 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 blah. and the foreign people, the people visiting Japan, they would hear this and they'd be like, what is up with that? That is crazy. And then they'd come up to me if they saw me and they'd be like, was that you? And I'd be like, guilty.
Welcome, Soul Blackheart. Goodness. I'm sorry, my mind is trying to just comprehend the idea of, you know, come do this thing where you're going to be spun around really fast and it's going to be high octane. Also, it costs this much, and also these are rules and all that. Hey, is that you? Did you do that? Yeah, that was me, kind of thing. I mean, it must sound exhilarating, at least to be recognized for your voice, like, especially in a foreign country.
Like, it's the equivalent of like hiding cheese at your work, you know, like when you leave, like when you leave a job and you put a piece of like cheese or a playing card or something, or you know, when I stay at a hotel, sometimes I would put like an ominous note behind the picture frame.
I've never done that. About
a murder or something. And it's just because you just want to give people a little bit of adventure and a little bit of like a thrill in what is mostly a mundane life that we live, you know? And I that's what Breezy is to me. It's just giving everybody a little bit of a thrill, a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of a cry, whatever it is that I'm giving them, you know? I try to put my heart and soul into it.
Nina brings up a good point. So what you're saying is you were the original Phantom Thief?
Totally. Guys, I have to tell you, I love Persona 5.
Heck yeah.
I almost got the tattoo of the top hat, but my like handlers wouldn't let me do it. I have one tattoo. I have a snake with I have like regular old garden snake. I didn't get like a cobra or anything. I wanted it to be a garden snake.
Yeah.
And it's trying to move forward, but its wings, which are angel wings, are pinned down.
Oh no.
and it's tearing them in trying to move forward. And that was probably the most emo I've ever been.
I wouldn't say that's emo. I say that's punk rock.
Yeah, I would say probably I'm a little more punk than emo in some ways. I'm looking like Avril Lavigne here in my shorty skirt and my off the shoulder. I'm the mother jammin' princess.
No, you're the degenerative AI princess.
That's true. That's true.
Well, this has been a great real story to hear, because I think it has to be like the most intensive one we've had yet on the story, where just from falling off of a chair or falling off of a table and just getting up, brushing off like, you sweaty boy, you, that's why I fell, to
Oh my god, Breezy's been pumped through the table, she's been broken in half,
to talking about something like having your voice recognized, and then just all of the different things. Heck, Nina, want you.
Where are we going with that one?
But just doing all these things, because you just talked about it with all your characters. That's something I'm very interested to talk about, because it feels like
Sure.
we might as well call this like Breezy's Playhouse with all of these different characters.
Hell yeah.
Just popped back in and Robe says something. Robe is asking something.
I thought that was a robot. I haven't been paying attention to that one. I thought it was like a random thing that just says, like, I thought it was Robocaster.
No, that's Robecaster. He says, I love your voice. Are you pop punk or pastel punk or something?
I don't know. Probably pop punk. Just, that's what I was listening to. I love Green Day.
Green Day's good. It's favorite song by Green Day.
My favorite song is Letter Bomb.
Really?
Yeah. I also like When I Come Around. I like Redundant.
So we got an OG fan here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Letter Bomb's off American Idiot, but then I think it's like been 20 years since American Idiot, and then I'm like, oh wow.
Rob says, are you Breezy like from YouTube? Your voice is kind of familiar.
Oh, if you think that I'm Breezy off of did the 3 gag something or other, I'm not that Breezy.
Then Nina says, not gonna lie, Breezy's avatar looks similar to like a horror protag in an older horror game or something like that aesthetic.
Oh yeah, like I'm fatal framing it.
That's a name I haven't heard forever.
I see dead people.
In this economy?
I think I'd make a great protagonist for a Fatal Frame game. Be like, oh crap, ghosts!
It's a shame. It's a shame that we don't see a Fatal Frame game where instead of like being like those small little digital cameras, from like 2005 or something like an old Polaroid, you just see like a $5,000 DSLR like Canon camera, just like takes rapid fire shots like it's a machine gun.
Yeah, I don't know. That aesthetic wouldn't work very well with like the vibes.
Okay, but
I love horror games though. We could talk about that. I don't play a lot of the indie stuff, unfortunately, but I played all the Resident Evils and I play I love virtual reality horror games. Resident Evil 7 in virtual reality is the scariest game I've ever played. And I don't know if I can go back to like a normal flat screen.
I need to play that one. A $5,000.
It's terrifying.
You can't use my own joke against me, Robe. Or you can, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely the one with the axe.
But yeah, so you we can or we shall. You have a bunch of different characters. So, do you mind if we kind of talk about that a little bit? Like, how many characters
Sure.
how many characters do you have? Who are they? What are their names? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so this is kind of tricky, but I do 2 different serialized stories. Well, I have 3 of them going currently, and none of them are finished, but don't hold that against me. The software that I use to create these is sometimes not as forthcoming, not doesn't do quite what I want it to. But for instance, my faux music documentary, The Breezies, there is a fake girl group called the Breezies that was active in sort of the 2000s or so. And there's 5 different Breezies. There's Sporty Star, there's Cracker Barrel, who is subsidized by Cracker Barrel, the restaurant.
Subsidized or sponsored? Or both?
Or sponsored, I'm sorry. That's sponsored by Cracker Barrel. And there's Twin Tails, who also has another side to her personality, because the story takes place after they were already broken up under mysterious circumstances. And it's inspired by David Lynch and what's his name? Oh my god, I'm blanking hard. The guy that did freaking
Was it a movie or?
Yeah. I'll get back to
Eli
that
Roth?
at some point, but not Eli Roth.
Well,
Who's inspired by Eli Roth?
I don't know, masochists?
He's okay. I liked his The House with the Clock in Its Walls. That was pretty good.
Book of Eli is a great movie, though.
Does that have anything to do with Eli Roth, though?
No, the Book of Eli is, I believe.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I think he
with
directed.
Denzel Washington, right?
Yes, wait, I think the Book of Eli was directed by Eli Roth.
It might have been, for all I know, but I don't think so.
Oh no, it wasn't. Man, that's embarrassing. Sort of
Oh, De Palma. That's who I was thinking of. You know, like Body Double and
I think
et cetera,
so.
et cetera.
Yes. No.
The first Mission Impossible movie.
Let's see. Eli Roth. Well, because I know Eli Roth did Hostel. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, not a great movie, actually.
The first one,
not in my opinion, anyway.
The first one I thought was decent. The second one was just mean-spirited, and the third one was just garbage.
I don't think I even knew there was a third Hostel movie.
Yeah, it was direct-to-video.
Hostel.
But
oh, like Madoka from the. I'm trying to say the like subtitle. Is it like Pucci Puella?
Something.
Peppermint Patty Madoka?
Something like that. Oh, did he direct The Green Inferno? Oh no. Eli Roth.
Yeah, he did. I think he did do The Green Inferno, actually. I didn't watch that, but my parents watched it, and they're super conservative and weird about stuff like that. And then they randomly bring it up to me. They're like, "We watched The Green Inferno the other day." I was like, "What?"
Alrighty then.
I want to get back to the characters.
Yes,
though.
back to the characters.
So they're all like typical girl group types, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's the sporty one. There's Instaglam, who is my sort of British sort of vibe one. I'm having trouble thinking of her voice right now because I don't remember what I used to get into it. But her raps are really cool. And then there's Dance Queen, who is a character that really hasn't come into her own until very recently. So she's a big part of the 4th series. Anyway, I'm telling the story of how they broke up, but I'm also releasing their music. And their 3rd single, which I'm quite proud of, I collaborated with this guy online to borrow his song, and I just added my own lyrics to it. And it's called They Bought a Zoo? ? We sold a zoo.
Interesting.
And it's like how does that song go? It's like I'm not one of those kind of girls pretending that I'm frail and I'm meek. I'm a feral jungle beast. I never do breakfast in bed. I only serve to feed all them girls all around the world buying up zoo properties. They sold a zoo. We bought a zoo, kept a reptile house and a crap ton of monkeys.
I I am impressed.
Thank you,
Because-
thank you.
Not only whipping that out on stream, but just that's very. I don't know how I feel about how much I really enjoyed that. Like it's just one of those things that just like, this is slaying. This is good.
So, in that, I made a music video that I broke up into pieces because I can't use the guy's whole song, but I wrote to the whole song.
Mhm.
So you can only use 1 minute at a time or else it gets flagged. But thank you for the compliments, chat. Very nice. The video is about how when they were filming it, our character Sporty Star was mauled by koala bears in an incident. And we still don't know who the perpetrator was, but we do know that there's several shady things going on, and someone may have done it to knock her out of the leadership position, because the new series, which is called The New Regime, is all about how they are... It's really a fever dream. It really does take a lot of inspiration from like Lynch, where things aren't exactly what they seem, and it may not be a documentary. It may be some kind of like feverish dream that you're seeing sort of played out. Their second single was called Never Alone When I'm With You, and it's got really morbid, dark lyrics, but they're supposed to be kind of kitschy. I just put out their new single. I haven't put out the music video for it, but I put out the lyrics video. I actually had this one, I produced this one, and I worked with a songwriting partner on it. It's called The Air Between All Things. And it was inspired by the band Enigma, which you may not remember.
No, I know the band Enigma. I know of them.
And it was also inspired by 9 Inch Nails, because there's a heavier part in it. And also Miracles by the Insane Clown Posse.
So it sounds like it's just inspiration from a lot of different groups here. Like,
yeah.
To say that there's one inspiration would be incredibly just wrong. Like, it's just a hodgepodge of diversity.
Yeah, and I think that I just do what I think is fun and what I think works for the characters. Another thing I'm doing is a science fiction epic, which just started because I was the #1 streamer on Hyper, and you get these golden horn ears, and I started having my character get introduced by this jester who would come out and be like, introducing the queen of the universe. You know, they do the whole spiel like Queen, like Daenerys got in Game of Thrones.
I've actually never seen Game of Thrones.
What was that?
I've actually never seen Game of Thrones.
Breaker of chains, mother of dragons, Daenerys Targaryen, first of her name, blah, 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 blah. And I would have that character introduce Queen Breezy. And everybody was getting into it, and they were all calling me Queen. And we'd go around and we were making a joke of it. But then as soon as you get knocked off the top, you lose access to the horns. And so I had it that I lost my place, you know? And so Queen Breezy went around, and I did this whole riff on that song by Coldplay. I used to rule
Viva La
the
Vida.
world, see the fear in my enemy's eyes. And
Yep.
I did this whole thing where I sang that song and I wandered around, like sweeping the streets I used to, and I'd be like, what's the matter, you looky-loos? Ain't you never seen somebody sweeping the streets they used to own before?
In this economy? Dang it, I need to stop
In
that.
this economy! And then I decided I was going to turn it into a space epic. And I had the jester release the chaos gems. And she turned into this pink empress character that sounds like this, like, people of Earth, it is I, Queen Breezon, of the Breezon Empire, and I am here to give you blah, 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 you know? And then she launched the castle into space, and so Queen Breezy has to go into space, and she ends up fighting the cosmic skanks, which was just my fun way of doing sort of like a Flash Gordon kind of thing. And the cosmic skanks each developed their personalities. One of them I got because I started doing an AI, and I made her Brizantia, the deal maker. All of them have Bree in the name, because I'm a narcissist, I guess.
I say
all of them
you
have
just have
Bree in the name.
I say you just have a lot. You just have high self-esteem and you have high confidence.
Yes. Not really, though. You know, one of them is a teenager named Breezima. And she's like, you know, like she's like typical teenager speak. She has a slug named Sluggo, but it has a different name, Philiador. Like they have lots of world building, and if you watch them from the beginning, if you type in Cosmic Skanks, it's the only Cosmic Skanks in there. But it's Queen Breezy and the Cosmic Skanks, and they're the antagonists. And there's like a story for each of them. And my favorite character is Breezima, who has this sort of inscrutable accent that's somewhere between Irish and Midwestern. And I can get into her accent really easily because I always remember what I first wrote for her, which was, Grinzy, another bottle of your finest if you would. And then she uses weird words like she calls her fists draggers because she used to work for a mining company, but now she's an assassin. So, her story is probably one of the videos I'm most proud of because it introduces her in an interesting way at a space bar with a space bartender alien, and it shows you and it has like this weird soulfulness to it that I thought was like it was branching me in a new direction. So, and I also made I sometimes these things come out but so naturally. Like I was making a I did a song about how I killed my house plant because I played too much Divinity Original Sin. and I sang it to the tune of You Are My Sunshine. It was like, you are my house plant, my little house plant, and I sang it to that tune. And then I sang I gave you water most every day. But then they dropped the new DLC, you know, and then I lost my way or whatever.
Speaking of giving water, thank you, Nina.
Oh yeah, that was my secret code word to you. I'm drinking water too, so. Anyway, I did that song, and then I had this inspiration. I was like, what if the houseplant has a daughter? And so I came up with chlorophyll. Or chlorokills. Chlorokills. And Chlorokills, you first meet her and it's just in real close-up, it's real cinematic, and she's talking to somebody and she's like, hey Ma, it's been a while since I last talked to you. It's me, your little Chlora, all grown up. And then like the tears start coming, you know, and like you realize that it's the houseplant and that she's gonna go and kill Breezy, who's in a relationship with her PS5 as I am.
Excuse me?
I mean, it's the most significant like longest relationship I've had. I just thought it was funny, you know, like what would Chlora take away from me, Breezy, or the character Breezy? And what I thought of was this houseplant killing my PlayStation 5.
So
I haven't finished the story though, so don't know where it's going yet.
So you just have all of this just extended lore that just
yeah.
Is this something that you're planning extensively, or is it more just like, this would be funny if this happened, like kind of on the spot?
It's partly planning, but mostly I get inspired, and then it's like a dog chasing a bus. You know, there's the bus. Speaking of which, I also have a dog character. Its name is Pochi. She doesn't usually talk, but when she does, it's for comedic or dramatic purposes. And it's part of this series called What the Dog Says or something like that, or what
the dog doing?
What the dog do? Yeah, what the dog do. So that's been really fun because it's kind of a riff on Japanese animation dubs too. Things went green for a second there.
Well, guess what? The stream will always have scuff. But
Guff, I told you weren't allowed to use that.
I've used it like 2 different times.
2 more times. I'm counting. We're at 5, maybe 6, maybe 6.
Well then, with all of those things, coming up with them on the spot or doing anything like that, how do you determine which one to pick when you're creating some new sketch?
It's really feeling. And, I know there's some stuff that my audience, that the people who follow me, who I call duckheads, I know that there's like some things that people aren't going to follow me fully into. And so when I run into those, I usually self-edit. But I mean, there's nothing that I would not. I can't think of anything I wouldn't do. I have a parody of an alt-right character. There's this woman named Pearl, just Pearly Things. And early on, I recognized that this woman was ridiculous. And I know it's hard because you can't really parody that stuff because of how dumb it is, because of how much of a parody it already feels like. But I just took her to an absolute extreme. So there was this, I remember there was this whole trend on TikTok where women were posting their icks, which are the like sort of deal breakers. It's like a new word for deal breakers. And she's not just a pearl clutcher, she's like the female Andrew Tate. It's bad. She doesn't think women should have the right to vote. So, I know we're not supposed to talk politics here, but I'm just going to say that I think we can all agree that women should have the right to vote, and that someone who says that is not being genuine.
Well, and I feel like it's something, because it's one of your characters that you portray. I feel like it's important to talk about and acknowledge the basis on, or the context rather of who these characters are.
Absolutely.
And clearly these characters are derived from some sort of attached, like, let me phrase that, they're derived from some sort of experience or knowledge that certainly plays into a lot of the sketches and a lot of the things that you do. Because for instance, this character Pearl, clearly we agree that it's not a good character in terms of what it's based on, but it's a parody, so we know that it's meant to make fun of the thing it's based on. So
yeah.
So with
yeah, you're right. And this character has a podcast called called I'm a 6 at best.
We talked about this. That's right. I said it once, I'll say it again. I think the title "I'm a 6 at best" is one of the funniest things I've heard in a while.
6 at best. I'm sorry that it's Southern again. I mean, I'm probably over-representing how many characters of mine have Southern accents. So not all of them, but this one, it's just a little bit Southern. And it's like, welcome to I'm going to put you on the show. Are you ready? You're going to be my guest.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to I'm a 6 at Best, the only podcast that tells you like it is about men and women and the relationships between us. And my guest here is a man who wears, I mean, are you a man? You're wearing ears.
Yeah.
I would say that you might be some sort of vegetable or mineral, as far as I know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but...
No, I'm a man.
Okay, but purple glasses, that tends to be, I'm just saying that when I go to the rodeo, the only one wearing the purple glasses is the clown who gets beat up by the bull.
Oh my gosh.
Gets tossed in the air.
Oh my goodness. It seems like...
Oh, you're disarmed. See, that's beta behavior. I'm an alpha, so I know how to recognize.
It seems like... It seems like...
alpha behavior.
God, you're nailing that down to a T.
Well, I'll stop now. I'm going too far. Once you get into it,
man,
it's dangerous.
It seems like embarrassment isn't only a club down the street, just from what I experienced.
But when I said that I did a video on icks, one of the icks was like I'd show a picture of a guy on top of a mountain breathing, and I'd be like, number 1, breathing. If you're a guy, you don't breathe until you get to the top of the mountain, and then you smoke a cigarette. And after you smoke that cigarette on the top of the mountain where the air is thinnest, then you can take a breath.
That
You wear glasses? That's beta behavior. You don't have alpha eyes.
I
How
don't.
can you see me without? Exactly.
I don't. That's wearing glasses. Me wearing glasses. This is beta behavior. I've been called a bottom, but I have not been called a beta. I see you. I see you, Soul Blackheart. I see you with that. Oh my goodness. Well, clearly it's just a lot of these characters are for the sake of entertainment. Or are there any characters that you kind of use as kind of an outlet to talk about certain things that maybe other people are a little more squeamish or not wanting to talk about? If that makes sense.
In the early going, I would use this brown-haired mousy girl character to represent me when I wasn't in character. But it kind of was a character in that it allowed me to, and I don't have any kind of multiple personality, anything, dissociative disorder or anything, but it was almost like I'm your guidance counselor and I've got all these puppets, and this one was the one that was like the closest to the real me. And I would use that character to talk about serious things like my depression. And I have suffered clinical depression since I was very young. At one point, I thought that it was related to just my unanswered gender dysphoria and issues with my gender identity. But once that was settled, although it did solve many of my hangups and issues with life, I still had depression and I still get it every so often. And I wanted to talk earnestly about it because I think that's what I most enjoy. What I most have found interesting about and valuable about TikTok is that even though I think that there is some truth to the fact that sometimes people will unfortunately be influenced negatively by what they see in sort of a monkey see, monkey do way, I think it also gives people a chance to talk about their real issues and their real problems and have other people recognize it and not just immediately dismiss it or make fun of it. Like when I was a kid, my parents didn't even believe I was allergic to nuts.
What?
They were like, nuts? That's nuts. You're not allergic to nuts. Eat a nut right now. And I did. And then my throat closed up. They're like, well, she's allergic to nuts.
That just sounds like casual gaslighting.
Yeah, well, my parents are a little old school, a little conservative Christian, and they can be a little, they can be a little biblical with that stuff.
Only imagine how hard that can be with situations like that. Because thankfully with my parents, my parents are also.
Thank you, Robecaster.
Yes, we're all glad you survived, because then you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be giving us wonderful shows on TikTok, So yeah, we're glad you're here. Glad you survived too. But back to with my parents, I know exactly how you feel with. I grew up and my parents are pretty conservative, but they are really liberal in a lot of things, and especially what's the word I'm looking for, because like they're very open-minded, they're very open-minded, they're very accepting of it, especially just a lot of things that you wouldn't consider to be conservative, but I completely understand where you're coming from, where they're still pretty conservative, but they tried their best with their given mindsets.
Would you allow me a short break?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I will be right back. I just have to deal with something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned. Or that's a weird word to say.
We'll be right back. So we'll actually go to our waiting screen. So we'll be right back. Or that's my end screen. There it is. my mic was muted. But now we're back. So, let's move on to the.
Oh, wait, before you do that,
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to answer Robecaster's question.
Oh, yeah.
They are different personalities in the sense that I consider myself a writer, and I think that when you write, you inhabit your characters, and even if you're just doing it in your head, you're doing different voices for them, you're doing different personalities, and you're sort of behaving in a way that is consistent with how you have crafted them. So I think that they're not just different moods or expressions, they really are different personalities. They're like my children.
Man, I mean,
I sound like freaking Tori Amos talking about her songs, like, oh, that little girl really just wanted to come out and she wanted to say this thing. And
well, and just the amount of work it seems that goes into it. I mean, I can only and what you said, with over 450 short form videos on TikTok in under a year. Like the work ethic required for that. I know some people, like for myself, I have yet to release short form content. I want to, but you know, it's a little difficult for me to do that. So do you have like any advice for somebody who wants to try and do that short form content, you know, YouTube shorts or, you know, TikToks or anything like that?
My advice is what I said before, but I think that you can't just go into it and say to yourself, I want to do this because people are going to like it. You just have to do it because it makes you happy and it interests you. And I know that's kind of a cop-out, but like, okay, so one night I was making a video and I just went like this.
Like the PopCat thing?
And I wasn't trying to follow a trend. I was just literally making sounds with my mouth. And I thought they sounded good. And I released the video and people were going crazy for it. And I was like, man, I spent like 3 days making that video the other day. And I didn't get half the likes I did on this one. Why? And, you know, that's just how it goes. So being prolific can sometimes lead to those sorts of ideas. And I think that that's really just what you have to do. You have to keep releasing stuff, whether or not it's the best or whether or not it's, you know, what I don't do though, and what I would suggest people not do if they're not trying to go professional with this stuff, is don't follow the trends like to the letter. Don't put all of the popular sounds in your videos. Don't do all that stuff, because even though you might get clicks and views or whatever, to me it comes across as a little bit soulless. And I think that's the one thing I don't want to do with this, is at the expense of never going viral.
Mm-hmm.
I only want to keep bringing things that you might not get anywhere else. So that's very good advice. Because I mean, it's terrible advice if you want to go viral. If your goal is to be successful, it's probably not great advice. But
yes,
if your goal is to enjoy yourself and build an audience organically, it's probably the best advice.
Because what I mean in that's great advice is, it's great advice in the aspect of, you know, managing expectations. Because something we talk about a lot on the show with various guests, that because they come from all different backgrounds of life, is that the way how you kind of crash and burn in your own content is by keeping your expectations so high, and you're not making them unrealistic. Because you can have high expectations, but you also need to make sure those expectations are reasonable to obtain. Because if somebody who just starts out streaming says, I'm going to be the next the next Fortnite streamer, excuse me, you know, it's probably not going to pan out if you're just like, I'm going to be the next Allier or the next, you know, Muselk or Lachlan or Laser or whatever, like that. And you're not putting yourself in a position, putting in work where you can do that. because then
Well, that's one of the things they say in music, right? They say, don't say you're going to be the next Taylor Swift. Don't say you're going to be the next Lady Gaga, because you're going to be the next you. And I mean, I think that musicians hate being compared to other musicians because they're not trying to be them. They're trying to be themselves. Like, of course, when someone comes out and kind of sounds like Billie Eilish, people are going to flock to that.
It's like,
as an easy way to describe them.
It's like, oh, they sound like the Beatles. I'm like, no, we don't sound like the Beatles. We sound like ourselves. So
unless you do sound like the Beatles.
Unless you do sound like the Beatles. When if you do,
we all sound like the Beatles. I can. You know what I learned? I told you this before we started the show, but I didn't come to the Beatles until later in life, as far as like really understanding and appreciating what they do as musicians. And what I realized is you can take any artist on Spotify, and you can listen to their music, and within about 2 to 3 songs, you can identify which Beatles song that artist most identifies with. Because even though there's only 5 albums or five eras or whatever you want to call it of the Beatles, that they didn't have a very long career really. They somehow hit so many different genres and almost created different genres, or popularized them at least, that I hear it when I listen to like music. I'll be like, oh, this is Kate Bush and Revolver.
And yeah,
this sounds like Northwestern Wind.
Northwestern, I don't know.
Or Northeastern Wind. What is it called? Norwegian Wind. Sorry,
Norwegian Wood.
Norwegian Wood. Like you'll hear Norwegian Wood, and then you'll listen to like a band, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I this is their favorite song.
Yeah, no, like I'm a big Beatles guy. Like my dad, he loves the Beatles. I mean, he actually, my dad's a little older. My dad saw the Beatles perform on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time, and so for him it was, he grew up in a house where his dad was just like, we don't listen to rock and roll in this house. We listen to good artists like Woody Guthrie and like, all those old school, I think like Hank Williams, like old school country. And my dad,
I love old school country.
Well, my dad, and that's the thing, my dad doesn't, because in the time he grew up in, he loved rock and roll. And he's like, hey mom, can I go over to my buddy's house across the street and watch the Beatles perform? And she's like, yeah, just don't tell your father that. Like, okay, I'll go. So he snuck out of the house at night with his mom's permission, and went over to his buddy's house, and they sat in his attic with this small little TV, getting the antennas right, and they watched the Beatles perform on the Ed Sullivan Show. And that was really what solidified my dad's love of rock and roll, because from then on he got into the Beatles, the Who, the Doors, all of these different rock and roll bands of the 60s and 70s. And it just shows how much of an influence one group can have, or even one person can have, because it completely revolutionized his entire liking of music in general. And so bringing that all back to what you said, where they're not trying to sound like Elvis Presley, they're trying to sound like the Beatles. And so trying to go into the beat of your own drum is the smartest thing you could possibly do if you're going to want to separate yourself from the herd.
That's very true, and I think it's probably very difficult for a lot of VTubers coming into it now, because the party's a little bit over. Like when this was fresh and like a lot of people could, you could get in there and get seen. It was a lot easier probably to succeed, but there's a lot of us now because it's a lot more accessible. The creation tools are more accessible. People know what to expect now too, and they have higher expectations now as well.
and I definitely think that, because I actually made a post about it earlier on, or like earlier this week on Twitter, where I remember some news outlet or whatever talking about how the VTubers bubble is going to pop, because at a certain point, VTubing is, at this point, I'd say it's mainstream. Um, and with how accessible the profession is, and with all these new talents coming in and out, for instance, like Niji Sanji, they just released and then just announced a new wave of talents. Then you have a group like V Shoujo who just announced a bunch of them. You have Akio Air that just all of their talents just up and quit. And so there's just so much going on, where if you look back in 2018 when VTubing was like kind of started, it's incredible to think about in the span of 5 years that it's as mainstream as it is now. I mean, heck, there are VTubers that are getting awards in like VidCon or TwitchCon or Comic-Con or any other place that does these things, which 5 years ago was unheard of. And now people are like, well, are VTubers content creators? If it's led to a point where people have to question the legitimacy of VTubing, I feel like it's getting to a point where it's pretty mainstream.
Like, the number of VTubers and or the number of YouTubers who are talking about VTubing as an industry is probably a good indication that yes, it is a little bit oversaturated at this point. But also, I do think that COVID lockdowns probably accelerated VTuber acceptance, and also this generation, they seem to relate to the idea of this sort of lore-based identity, where maybe we have very like regular lives outside of that, but when we create these fantastical stories and layer them and give people a lot to dig into, that they can also play along, and it becomes kind of a fantasy game that the audience and the VTuber are playing together. And I'm just a observer, as far as what I do, I think that I'm more myself, and I'm a storyteller, and so I don't have like one story for people to latch on to where they come in and they immediately know who they are within the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm presenting a different story oftentimes, and a different side of myself.
Well,
So
and I guess with that, there's just a lot of since there's a lot of competition, there's at a certain point you have to come to the realization of, do I just kind of do my own thing, and if it grows, it grows, if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then I also have to think, am I going to try and do something new? Am I going to try and invent something that will set me apart? Because like for me, what became my raison d'etre for this whole VTubing thing is I wanted to play games and all that, but gaming on stream is not my biggest concern. Instead, I saw something that was kind of lacking in the community, which was a show like this, where
I love this show, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Like, and that's why I love this show, because something I'd love to do is in the future, I just stopped doing gaming streams altogether and I just focus full-time on this, but the whole purpose of it is I took advantage of the idea that there was not really any talk shows centered around smaller creators in the VTubing community, because at the time the only things that you'd see were either podcasts or the only two talk shows that I really saw was Iron Mouse's talk show or Takahata 101's bar show. And so those were the only two ones, but they were having big names on there, with people with hundreds of thousands of or millions of followers. Where, what about the people like you or I that are, not a whole lot of people, or not as big people, or just, they just debuted or whatever? what about their story, you know? And so that's what I thought to try and do and accomplish with this show, but I know it's nothing original. People have done this. People are doing this. And in my mind, it doesn't stop me, because at the end of the day, this is what I love doing. I'm not using it to be like, I'm going to usurp HoloLive, hee hee hoo hoo. It's, I do this in my own time, my own free time.
Yourself short, you just may yet.
All right, guys. By the end of this year, we're gonna have more followers than HoloLive. No, I'm just kidding.
It's official prediction.
No, please don't hold me to that.
I mean, if everyone in this chat goes out and tells 3 people that, you know, they should be watching this show, and those people actually show up, then we will have wait, math. Math.
We'll see. And the thing is, I don't know how many people are here, because I have my viewers on both my Twitch and my Streamlabs. I have them both hidden, because I don't watch those whenever I stream, especially in this show. I don't have those viewer numbers every time, I swear.
Oh man.
Sorry, I got beamed with Dr. Pepper. Thank you.
You did.
Thank you, Soul Blackheart. I appreciate the follow. I really do. It truly means a lot. Like, you guys have no idea how much I love you guys, and I really appreciate you. I always love talking about how much I love my guests, because my guests are the reason why I can do this, and the audience is the reason why I can continue to do this. So I will always have the opportunity I can to talk about how much I love and respect both the guests and the audience. So gotta keep the fembat hydrated.
Y'all better love and respect me.
Oh, but Robe, I saw your thing. Your show was very enjoyable, both with the personalities presented and the byplay between host and guests. I mean, like I said, it's just, this show offers people an outlet to really talk about them and who they are and what their story is. That's why okay, time to drink, time to hydrate. Oh, that was a piece of ice. No, my teeth.
Teeth are frozen.
And, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, like, that's why the first question I always ask at every show is, who are you and what's your story? Because in my opinion, that's the most important question to ask. Yeah. That insult to injury. That has weak teeth. It's ice cold water. It doesn't feel good on the teeth.
I love the fact that in real life now, people are throwing things at celebrities because of this stuff.
Well, that's my biggest reason why I pushed really hard to try and get to affiliate. Now that I'm at affiliate, I'm like, cool. If I grow my followers and, you know, get all of that, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's not. I just wanted to get to affiliate so people could throw things at me. That's literally the only reason. And
it's fun.
It's really fun. But see, chat loves you. Chat loves you, Breezy. Not again. So why me? Gotta keep fangs blue. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hijack this conversation talking about no, dang it, I gotta keep drinking. I'm sorry I hijacked the conversation about talking about our show, because I do call it our show. It's not my show, it's everyone's show. So
cool. When you make it big, I'll remember that and come back with a with a lawyer.
I just drank, Robe. I just drank. Like, you sent that midway through my drink. Don't you dare throw another one. But we need you to be a good health, so hydrate. So, but yeah, back to the show stuff is that, like I said, it's making sure that I want to hear your story, and everybody wants to hear your story. And clearly, you have a very unique and interesting story, Breezy, with all of... There, I took a drink. But you have a very interesting story, especially just how formative a lot of the things that led you to become a VTuber. You know, I know a lot of people who got into VTubing as a joke, or they did it because like, you know, I'll be the next big thing, you know. But hearing how you've talked about your journey, the thought process, all the influences, you know, it's very clear that you were grounded in the foundation of your very character, which is something that I feel as though I imagine you are very proud of.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because at the end of
My grandmother.
oh yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
no you go.
I'll let you speak if you want.
I am very awkward, so please you speak, and then I'll.
No, you're only awkward because you probably are dying of overhydration. I was just gonna say that, and this is true. I mean, it sounds like bullshit when I pull out another anecdote, but my grandmother used to tell me, and she was a very talented woman. She was an artist. She rode horseback. She was just a real go-getter. And she used to say that, you know, because she was a housewife as well, and she became mostly a housewife, I guess, because she just did the other things on the side. And I used to say, like, why don't you have a gallery show? You're so talented. And I'd say all these things, and she'd be like, why would I want to do that? This is for my soul. And, you know, I wouldn't say no to somebody coming up to me and saying, hey, you want to quit that job of yours? You want to like get paid to do this professionally on a bigger stage, on a bigger level? I probably would say yes, but on the same side, I'm not going to sell my soul when I do this for the benefit of my soul. And I think that's why, even, you know, I know I don't have a massive following, but the people who do follow me recognize that I'm always real about it.
And not only that, the people like this community you cultivate at the very beginning, these people who stay with you at the beginning are the ones that are going to stay with you, you know, as you continue on that road to success. And it's really, that shows you the level of support that you have, and just anybody for that matter, because like, and that's why I love being at the size I am in terms of streaming and being a creator, is that I know my chat, I know my followers individually, and you know, for some, like, piggybacking off of what you said with your grandmother, is that there was a person who I knew that was a very talented artist, somebody who could look at, and they were known for, like, they did landscape paintings. You know, they could take one look at any area they were in and paint it almost from memory. And I asked him, I had the chance, and I said, hey, why don't you sell these works? Why don't you, you know, you could make a lot of money off this. And he just looked at me in the eye and says, because I don't want to. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to? I mean, I can understand you don't want to, but I'm curious to hear your reason. And he said, because the moment I start to sell my work and I start to do it where I take advantage of the money of other individuals, is the moment it stops being fun for me. Because if I could paint paintings all my life and make money off of it, well, suddenly the joy stops coming to me.
Right.
Because I am no longer doing this for myself, but I'm doing it for others. And I feel like that is the essence of what should drive people's hopes and aspirations is, are you doing this for yourself? Or are you doing this for other people?
And it always comes with strings attached. It's like Jack Antonoff says, you know, don't take the money.
And there's nothing wrong with, you know, making a living and, you know, making money off of it, of what you're doing. But it puts into perspective that, are you, like, anybody should ask themselves in the position they're at, am I doing this for myself or am I doing it for other people? Because, and it's okay to say if you're doing it for other people, you're doing it yourself, but it's, am I in love with this because I'm doing it for myself, or am I in love with this because, you know, I'm doing it for other people? like when I do my audio engineering, I love doing it because it's my passion. I don't love it because I'm making Joe Schmo or Jane Doe sound really good. That's just a byproduct of it. It's I go into the studio, I turn on my speakers, I load up my computer, I load up my mixing board, I plug in my mics, I get everything set up for a voiceover that's happening in 30 minutes. I'm plugging all that in, I'm getting everything fired up because that's what I want to do in my heart, not because I come in for a paycheck. Now, some people, they're at a point where, like, I'm just going paycheck to paycheck. I'm only going to work because I need that paycheck. And so it is a case-by-case basis. So I certainly don't want to generalize based on my experience. That's how it is. But it's one of those things where, having to sit back and evaluate why you're doing something, I feel like is the first step to seeing whether or not you can progress in your future with it. That was long. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. I sometimes feel like that. I think the longer you're in the industry, because I am a professional editor, I have been nominated for an Emmy, and I lost.
That's more than most.
And what I found is that after the fourth murder show that I'm editing in a row, maybe my soul is a little bit thin.
Yeah.
And so I do it for a paycheck. I do it for the insurance, in America.
And that's
part of the deal.
And that's completely reasonable.
But at the same time, I love to cook, and so this gives me there's things that you trade off. I'm able to work from home a lot, so I can cook, I can pick up a guitar when I want to and play it, I can go for a walk, I can record a breezy while I'm on the paycheck. Don't tell anybody.
Oh, trust me, I'm at work. Don't tell anybody.
And yes, I have daddy issues. So my father, when I was little, when I was a boy, my father was like, "You walk like a queer." And let's just say he said queer and not something more derogatory. And my dad's cool. My dad's a nice guy. Everybody loves my dad. He's sweet. But he has some of those hang-ups, and
it's a different time.
He told me that every day after school, he would draw a line outside the house after he came home from work. And he would draw a line on the blacktop, and he would make me walk straight lines because I was supposed to be straight. But what my dad didn't realize is if you walk a straight line, it's not a cis walk, it's a sissy walk. Because one foot in front of the other is a runway walk. And that man had me walking pretty fierce by the end of it. So when I eventually put on the heels was going for it, I had the best walk right out the box.
So it sounds like your dad unintentionally gave you the fiercest walk. Because
yeah.
Did he walk like that?
No. He didn't have a cowboy walk or anything, but he walked like a normal dude. Like a businessman walk. He didn't have the McMahon waddle or anything. He did do the head shake and waggle to the ring.
He didn't walk. He didn't walk like he was in a Gillette commercial in the 80s.
Right.
My goodness, but clearly it's something that pardon me, they're unintended byproducts that just happen to happen. And Robe, you took the words out of my mouth. Of helping you by helping you is just. Father, you have your own mistakes. We all do, but one of them was not teaching. There was no mistake. You know what you were doing, teaching me how to be the fiercest one who ever lived in that walk. That is very, may I say, funny to hear.
Yeah, it's almost like you were gay and your dad was like, You need to be a muscle man. Here's some Muscle Man magazine.
This is what this is what you are. We need to fix that. We need to work out right now with a bunch of other men and listen to YMCA. Village people all the way.
This is a real man. Stare at this until you're like him.
Stare.
Did you say stare at it until I'm like him?
My gosh. Let's get that Sports Illustrated in your hand. Here you go. Here's a bunch of bodybuilders. Like,
yeah.
But goodness, that is
I broke Nina.
I think you broke me. The toys they encourage boys to play with were not making us straight. They were making us fierce.
Oh god, no. I mean, I would never have that period where I was like, I don't play like the Barbie dolls with the girls. Because I loved my G.I. Joes, because I could tell super awesome action adventure stories like Indiana Jones with them. I remember they'd have epic fight scenes, and I had the whole, like, I had the entire space shuttle that I got from, like, I got it, like, used from someone who had, like, outgrown it.
Huh?
And I didn't like the toys, the toys that were out at the time, because they were so stiff. And like their joints didn't bend, but the old school GI Joe ones had like bendable joints, and they could like do like complex poses and things.
Oh yeah. And then just
of course, like when the X-Men and stuff came out, those were great too for that kind of stuff. But
well, here's hoping that action figures and toys these days, whether they're GI Joes or Barbies, that they give, that's the real thing kids want. They don't care about the separation. They just want points of action. They want elbows to move. They want knees to move.
Monster High are the best. I love them.
They were
and Ever After High too.
Well, looks like we hit we're hitting the 2-hour mark. Let me actually, yeah, we hit 4 p.m. So that's 2 hours. Why don't we wrap this up? Because
yeah, it's probably wise.
Like this,
I've been ignoring.
Like
the house is on fire.
See, Soul, you're getting it now. One of the perks of being a part of this is just gonna throw things at me. How dare you, Bombastic? I was in the middle of a drink. No!
We're never gonna be able to end the show because you're just gonna keep getting hit in the face with things.
Well, I'm out of water.
This is exactly what it's like on a porno movie.
Oh, no. Yeah, we need to... Breezy, would you be... Jeez!
Look at... You're just getting pied in the face over and over again.
Please, stop!
No, but I always use Blythe's line from Littlest Pet Shop. I always use the line, what the huh? What the huh? What the huh?
What the huh, indeed. Especially getting pelted by... That was easily over 100 cans of Dr. Pepper. Easily. My goodness.
I don't stream. I don't know if I made that clear. I want to get back into it at some point, but it's just not really conducive to my lifestyle, and like and I don't know, like I had so many technical difficulties. I was supposed to do a charity stream for Moonshot Network, and just as I had like told 7,000 people across various social things that I was going to be doing this charity stream for Extra Life, it failed. My software failed, and I couldn't get it to stop like blinking on and off. And I was so crestfallen, I stopped streaming. I was streaming Resident Evil 4 at that point, and I was telling these really funny stories. I don't know if you've played it, but there's this hilarious, there's side quests in it that weren't really in the original game. And one of them is like, there's this like passive aggressive note about how like there are these blue discs all over Ganados village. And this person thinks that they're an eyesore and wants them removed. And I started imagining them as the homeowners association of this like South American, farming village, which has been like overtaken by this cult of undead people. And this one guy is like, I find these blue discs to be completely inappropriate. They're lowering the home value of everyone who lives here. Please remove them immediately.
Oh my gosh, Nina. That... My goodness. See, every time we just bring up more and more things, I just think, wow, I wish this show wasn't just 2 hours.
Breezy Ray, follow me on TikTok, please. That's where you can see my videos.
She makes great content. I've been watching a lot of it during this past week. And
what was your favorite?
I'd have to say, because I can't remember where was it? Because where is it? Well, there it is. It was first because it was the one that just kept popping up in my feed of it was just your run rabbit, because I think it was that one. It was one where you just kept running in place, getting closer and closer to the camera, and that
was Run Rabbit. That's a new character. Her name is Rabbit,
and that was it, of just running and then just getting closer. So I'm like, what is this? What is going on?
People love when I do that goth stuff.
So it's good stuff. Like, I wish I was good at making short form content. And you know what's funny is
thank you, Nina.
I actually had an entire other list of questions pertaining to how you do your, like, specifically your videos and all that. But guess what? The conversation is so good, we kind of missed all of that.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, don't apologize. This is why I love doing this show, because it means that I'd rather have questions that left unanswered, because it means I can ask them next time you come on.
It was really important that we talk about cats.
It was really important we talk about cats and how much Judi Dench sitting and licking herself was integral to the plot.
Thank you.
So,
you know, I had asked you to see if you could find some beats for us to freestyle to.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that.
But that's okay. That means there's more for us to do next time.
Oh, I gotta put my whiteboard back. There we go. All right, there's the link right there. If you guys haven't already, join the Discord, interact in the Discord, because guess what? That's where a lot of our guests are at. So if you ever want to reach out and talk to the guests, you know, you're more than welcome to do that, or just come by, have fun, interact. We have many different channels. We have videos, we have music, we have memes, we have artwork, we have pets, you know, and we have Tiny Nina's Wonderland, which is where our wonderful Nina here just posts all of her own stuff. But yeah, this has been such a fun show today, because like we talked about from talking about cats to ankle slashing, to your creation of characters and your different amalgamation of just the mind of Breezy, to finishing it up with yes, my father, I don't want my no son of mine will walk like that, you're going to walk like this, and inadvertently gives it like the opposite effect but makes it 10 times better. I can only imagine what the next appearance, like the next, oh my gosh, I'm getting hiccups now. I can only imagine what the next show will be like having you back on.
Yes, I look forward to it. And now we have to end it by singing Jellicle Cats.
I don't know the words to Jellicle Cats.
Are you blind when you're born? Can you see in the dark? Can you look at a king? Would you sit on his throne? Can you say of your bite that it's worse than your bark? Are you cock of the walk when you're walking alone?
My gosh.
When you fall on your head, do you land on your feet? Are you tense when you sense there's a storm in the air? Can you find your way blind when you're lost in the street? Do you know how to go to the Heaviside lair? Because Jellicles can and Jellicles do.
Now I remember.
Jellicles do and Jellicles can. Jellicles can and Jellicles do. Jellicles can do they do.
Oh my, like, this is what, see guys, this is what happens when you have two theater kids on the show. So anticipate in the future, or anticipate next time in the future, where we will be doing a bit of, we'll try and do some Broadway singing. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm actually in the.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
It was lovely to spend time with you all.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm currently trying to get a raid, like a raid copy paste set up. All right, so let's see. Heck yeah, bottom squad. I love / hate that so much. Cool. So, thank you guys so much for dropping by and for hanging out with us. You know, it is something that all I can say. The best part about this is, and Joey D King talked about it earlier, being here live and talking and interacting. You Soul, I'm so sorry, Soul. But you know, being here live interacting, you can't replace that feeling of authenticity and genuine interaction. So we will talk a little bit after Breezy and get set up with all of the necessary stuffs in the Discord, because guess what, I've been shirking my work and I need to fix that. So yeah.
Songs for Jellicle cats for Jellicle songs, Jellicle, jelly, Jellicles, jelly, 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 jelly.
So what we will do is we will see about planning on doing some singing next time you're on the show. Does that sound? Oh my gosh, no, I dropped my raid.
Is that what I'm doing?
So, sound good?
Yeah. Bye.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you next time. And to everybody here, I love you. Stay safe. And please, stop throwing cans for me to drink water. I can only drink so much. I only have a 20-ounce can. I need my 64-ounce because of you guys. Anywho, I love you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye! Especially since it's been a little bit of time coming, because we